Pain was not something the ancients tried to avoid. It was something they planned for. Long before comfort became a goal, entire societies were designed around one quiet assumption: suffering is inevitable, and those who endure it without collapse will decide the fate of the rest. This is not a story about brutality for its own sake. It is the story of how pain was transformed into structure, identity, and order. Chapter 1. The Measure of Endurance. In ancient Japan, warriors practiced misogi, a ritual of standing beneath freezing waterfalls to strip away weakness through controlled suffering. The body trembled, the breath shortened, and the mind learned to remain still. This was not punishment, it was preparation. The Spartans understood this instinctively. Pain was not an interruption to life in Sparta. It was the medium through which life was shaped. From childhood, discomfort was introduced deliberately, not to break the individual, but to reveal who could remain functional when ease disappeared. Chapter 2. The law above the individual. Sparta was governed by Eunomia, a system of order so strict that personal desire was treated as a threat to survival. Law was not debated, it was embodied. Boys entered the Agōgē not to be educated in ideas, but to be remade through deprivation, silence, and discipline. Hunger, cold, and exhaustion were not accidents of training, they were constants. The system eliminated softness early, ensuring that identity formed around duty rather than comfort. Chapter 3. Arete and the Acceptance of Limits. The Spartans pursued Arete, excellence not as talent, but as character forged under strain. Strength was measured by consistency, not intensity. Pain revealed limits, and limits clarified responsibility. To endure was not to deny suffering, but to accept it without complaint. The Spartan learned early that resistance wasted energy, while acceptance preserved it. This distinction separated survival from collapse. Chapter 4. A Modern Man in an Ancient System. A man named Thomas worked in a world designed to minimize discomfort. Climate control, instant communication, constant distraction. Yet, his mind remained restless, fractured by small pressures he could not explain. Sleep came late, focus dissolved quickly, and every inconvenience felt larger than it should. Searching for stability, he began reading about ancient societies, not for answers, but for contrast. What unsettled him was not their cruelty, but their clarity. Chapter 5. The Removal of Excess. Thomas did not attempt to become Spartan. He did something quieter. He eliminated noise. He removed small comforts that dulled attention. Cold showers replaced warm ones. Silence replaced constant input, and unnecessary choices were stripped from his mornings. These were not acts of toughness, but of structure. Each small non-negotiable action reduced negotiation with himself. Pain was no longer an enemy, but a signal that attention had returned. Chapter 6. Presence through constraint. Spartan presence was not mindfulness as we describe it now. It was enforced awareness. When food was scarce, eating required focus. When speech was limited, words carried weight. When comfort vanished, the body stopped drifting into distraction. Thomas noticed the same effect. Discomfort anchored him. It narrowed the mind to what mattered. Presence emerged not from seeking calm, but from removing escape. Chapter 7. Leonidas and the Weight of Duty. Leonidas. I did not march to Thermopylae seeking glory. He marched because the law required it. Spartan kings were not exempt from suffering. They were bound to it. The discipline that governed others governed him first. Death was not romanticized, but accepted as a possible outcome of obedience. This acceptance removed hesitation. When pain is already accounted for, fear loses leverage. Chapter 8. Transformation without drama. Thomas did not become invulnerable. Life remained uncertain. Pressure remained real. But his relationship with discomfort changed. He no longer negotiated endlessly with resistance. He endured small hardships daily, so larger ones lost their shock. The system mattered more than mood. Discipline replaced motivation, and identity followed structure rather than desire. Chapter 9. A Society that chose endurance. Sparta did not survive because it was kind. It survived because it was coherent. Pain was distributed evenly, expected universally, and framed as necessary. This created unity, but also rigidity. The same structure that forged strength eventually limited adaptation. Endurance alone is not wisdom, but without it, Wisdom collapses under pressure. In the end, a society built to endure pain teaches a quiet lesson. Suffering does not disappear when ignored. It simply arrives uninvited. When it is planned for, measured, and integrated, it loses its power to destabilize. The Spartans understood this not as philosophy, but as survival. And in a world that has forgotten how to endure, their legacy remains less a myth than a warning written in discipline, silence, and restraint.